Welcome back, everybody. This is Trailing Spouses. Today, on this episode, we're going to be talking about being a trailing spouse and single functioning whilst you are a spouse.
Yes.
So, what it means is that you become the primary provider and the core provider of your family because, as we know, partners can travel. Partners can be at work for long periods of hours in a day, or partners can be absent because of work for long periods of times. So usually the supporting spouse has to jump in, usually the mom has to jump in and then become the cover-all of the entire situation. What I usually think about single functioning is it's quite an interesting role because a lot of people don't tend to see it.
Yes.
They don't tend to recognize the fact that you can be in a partnership, but you can also still be single functioning.
Yes.
Because there are so many demands on your spouse's role and job that even though they want to parent, even though they want to be there, the demands sometimes don't allow for them to be there.
Yeah, like literally don't allow for them to be there because a lot of times with these international assignments and promotions comes a lot of travel. So they literally physically may not be there for weeks on end. Months on end. I remember when my daughter was first born, we were living in the U.S. My husband took a role as an HR manager in Puerto Rico. And then at the same time, he was working on a master's degree in business from Duke. So he would do a week of residency at Duke, 2 weeks in Puerto Rico, and I only saw him 1 week out of the month. That was the first 7 to 8 months of her life. And so as a new mom, first time mom, felt like I was a single mom because I was there and in a state where, I was 7 hours away from my family. So grandparents, aunts, uncles, sisters, people that normally step in with the new mom and help you learn to be did it solely, by myself. So that single functioning can be a product of absolute necessity. It's not even about whether or not they want to be involved. They physically may not be in the home.
Yeah. It's an absolute necessity. Yeah. And then it's even worse than now when you actually move out of your own home ground and you are pushed into a completely geographic location where you don't know anybody, your relatives are not around. It's literally just you and your family or your little family, your children, and the helps that you have, because you have to admit it, a lot of the times trailing spouses do need that little extra hand from here and there, and it's a reality for them. So the helpers are there, and it's nothing to feel guilty about.
Yes, I was just getting ready to say, and please, ladies and gentlemen, surrender. Get a nanny, okay? Just let that go. Don't let anybody nanny shame you like, oh, you have a nanny. Darn right. Because using the bathroom by yourself, I go back to that sometimes, but using the bathroom by yourself, this was a moment for me because it wasn't until I got a nanny that I could, be alone at alone moments where I needed to be alone. If you don't allow yourself to get the help that would naturally come if you were in a different type of environment. Normally you have grandparents that would, at least I know I had friends who, their mom would come and stay for a month or two, their first month or two. And then I had friends, this is something that I observed that I didn't even do. I did it this time in Taiwan. The first time I moved in London, I didn't. I saw where aunts, sisters, mothers came to visit for a whole month and helped them settle.
That's nice.
Yes. So I had a friend that was like, oh, yes, my mother's here to help me set up my kitchen. And I'm like, set up your kitchen? You mean there's somebody that will help you do that? You mean you don't have to unpack every single box by yourself? I mean, so whether you outsource it to an official helper, house manager, housekeeper, or whether you intentionally plan. This time I planned for my friend to come and visit. We were here for a month. She came to visit for like 3 months after we had been here to help me settle. She was here for our stuff to come from overseas. I could not have done it without her. I honestly, this time around, I think also because I had just had a surgery, I couldn't even raise my arms. So physically I needed the help. But don't let that be an excuse.
Yeah.
It's okay.
It's okay.
For you not to do everything.
It's okay.
It is okay.
It's totally okay, because single functioning as a parent is also not easy.
No.
When you have a spouse, because everybody thinks you ought to have it together.
Yes.
And trust me, when you have kids running in the house and you are a trailing spouse or supportive spouse, and you're out there on an international mission, and now your partner is absent, not because they want to, but because of the demands in their job, and you need to be the mother and the father, the one who makes the hardcore decisions in your household, the head of the household. You will need support. And we wanted to highlight that those are roles that a lot of the women do have to step into, or some of the men who come in also as trailing spouses, because it goes both ways.
And if you don't get the help that you need, or the support that you need, the breaks that you need from that, I think that's when bitterness can come and set in. Because also, before you undertake this, you need to know that this is a part of the journey. That you are saying not only yes to the assignment, but yes, I will be the trailing spouse.
Yes.
And with that comes part of this functioning. You need to really evaluate how that looks for you and your spouse before you're in that. You need to talk about what success in that role looks like. And for the trailing spouses, I make a joke. If we are trailing spouses, then does that mean our husbands are the dragging spouse and y'all dragging us along? No. You need to evolve from a dragging spouse to a supporting spouse, or to a sponsoring spouse. And one step in that evolution is allowing and being supportive of whatever the trailing spouse needs in order for them to be okay. And it may seem like, well, what's the big deal? Do you really have to have somebody to come and help and cook and clean? But you have to realize you're functioning in a way that otherwise would not be normal. I don't know about everybody else, but even when I was living domestically, I had a housekeeper.
Right.
Did I have somebody that came 3 or 4 times a week? No. Do I have that now? Yes. Why? Because it is enough for me to have to figure out schools, after school program, grocery shopping, play dates,
hospital visits,
and a language barrier. I don't want to mop the floor after that. I don't. I want to sit down for a minute, and I may need to actually mentally think about all the things that I have to do the next day, because if I don't do certain things, you cannot outsource. And if I don't do those effectively, if I'm not mentally clear,
those just... everything comes tumbling down.
Then everything will fall through the cracks. So on the things that you can't outsource, on the things that you have to be there for, make sure that you're showing up your absolute best, and give yourself permission to get
And then
out.
also, single functioning means you have to parent. It means you have to stay on top of what's going on in your children's lives and who they're connected to. You have to, and raising preteens. It's not easy, because they're at the point in their life where they really, really need your full attention, but not really.
Right. Yes. Yes. Like they need you there,
but not
silently.
Yeah.
In the background of their foreground, but they really do need you, but kind of, sort of not. It's interesting to navigate. Certainly interesting to navigate with a third culture kid.
Yeah.
But you have to set yourself up to have the support for the things. I think prioritizing. Some things are really, really critical that only you can do. Only you can set up tutoring for your child. Only you can do certain things and be there in a particular capacity. Other stuff that's not that big a part, anybody can sweep the floor. That is not a high-level skill set that you need to be able to do that. So you balance, for me, I balance those things. Yes, I balance those things out in terms of, okay, in the capacity that I have physically and mentally, what is it that I absolutely have to show up for that no one else can do? And what are those things that anybody can do? Not that they aren't important, because they need to be valued.
Yeah.
They are very critical, but it's not as though if I did it or if someone else did it, it would make that big of a deal. I think that, to me, in my mind, that's how I try to get balance.
That makes a lot of sense. When you're single functioning, you need to have priorities. You need to know what you, like you said, what is important for you to show up for. And then what are the other things that you can let go of and just let somebody else take care of? Because you literally cannot show up for everything all the time. You are going to burn out.
Yes. And I think that's where, like I said earlier, bitterness will set in towards your spouse, and you'll misdirect some of that frustration out at anybody. It could be your spouse, it could be the dog, hopefully not, but it could be anything.
It could be the dog.
I'm just saying.
Tie it up to the tree.
Right, tie him to the tree, you make me sick. Oh, I'm mad I'm here. No, You know, what you
Yeah.
really need is somebody else to do the things that are taking you over your edge. Like if you have a ledge,
Right.
don't let something be the tipping point. Don't get to the ledge where you're like, oh my gosh. And at the end of the day, we all know how it feels.
We know how it feels. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you're out there, you're a trailing spouse or supportive spouse, please, it's okay. Understand that it's okay to be single functioning. This is something that actually happens. We've lived through it. We know it's there. We recognize it's there. It's a reality. And do not let anybody just let you feel ashamed that, oh, but you know, you got a partner. How come you have to do all this and do all that? Sometimes you need to step in and support
Yes, absolutely.
your household.
Yes, and what works for you, not what works for somebody else's house. Because some people don't parent the same. Some people, you know,
Yes.
they don't. Some people don't mind going out every night of the week and every night of the weekend. And some parents choose to do other things, choose to be
Differently.
differently. There's no right or wrong. It's what works for you. But don't let anybody shame you for not going out. You know, you have friends who don't, you'll meet people that don't have children.
Yeah.
That's domestic or being an expat. Don't let anybody shame you for your mom life. Okay, hashtag mom life. You got to get one. It is what it is.
It is what it is.
It is what it is. I can't go out and be with everybody all the time. I love everybody, but I'm not going to do that. One, because I like to sleep. And, you know, sometimes in my downtime, it's my time. I love y'all, though. I'm not doing it. I'm going
Right.
to take a nap.
Right.
And use the bathroom by myself. I
Don't
go back
force
to that.
yourself into social situations
Yes.
that you know you can't handle because sometimes it's just what it is,
That's right. That's right.
right?
Absolutely.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you once again for joining us in Trailing Spouses, and we will see you next time.